Full Melt Show is intended for a mature audience. It contains adult themes, adult content, and sometimes adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
Full Melt. Wait. What?
It's the Full Melt Show.
That's what it is.
Are you high? What are you talking about?
It's the Full Melt.
Give me a break.
The Full Melt Show. A marijuana discussion about news, culture, politics, and lifestyle. TheFullMelt.com.
You know what I just did, Mad Blaster?
What'd you just do there, Steve?
Welcome to the show, by the way. Yesterday, I had a soda pop at my feet. Today, when I started the show, because I left it down there, I thought that the old soda pop was the new soda pop. You ever do that?
Oh, no, I can't say I do.
It's just not good. Big breaking news today. We're breaking news flash. News flash. Beep, 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 beep. Update from the Supreme Court today. You know, I'm not even going to do the update, Mad Blaster. You know who got on the phone to do the update?
Who's that, Steve?
It's Jeff Hank from MiLegalize. We can hear it right from the horse's mouth. Welcome to the show, Jeff.
Hey, guys. Glad to be here.
So you got to tell us what happened today. Some stuff went down. Now, I'm a little confused myself, and I'm pretty good at following stuff. There was something from Court of Appeals and then also something from Supreme Court because you had to do some kind of dual filing for time efficiency. Tell us what that was about.
Sure. So, this was a lot of complicated process and nuance that we're in a very unique legal situation that most people don't find themselves in. So, because of the case that we have and the interests that were at stake and the important questions that should have been addressed by our lawsuit, we were eligible to file what's called a bypass of the Court of Appeals to go directly to the Supreme Court. So when we received an adverse opinion from the Court of Appeals and we appealed it with the Court of Appeals, but we also simultaneously filed an appeal with the Supreme Court asking the Supreme Court to take control, it's called superintending control of all the cases and all appeals, and the sole authority and to issue a ruling before the Court of Appeals did. Now, the Supreme Court did grant our emergency motion to deal with it, but the Court of Appeals did issue their ruling first this morning denying leave, and then a few hours later, the Supreme Court did the same thing.
All right, so just to catch up listeners, because we occasionally get people who are not familiar with this issue, who don't know about this issue at all, or if they are finding out about the issue, don't know enough about it. So I'm just going to give everybody from the background forward that we've had a campaign going, a citizens petition initiative to legalize cannabis for adults 21 and over in Michigan. Is that correct? Am I saying that properly, Jeff?
That is correct.
Okay, so and then at some point in time, we gathered enough signatures, we turned them in, and the state said, you didn't get them in with this 180-day window, and so therefore, we're not going to count any of them. We're not even going to worry about counting them because there's too many of them that are stale. And so that means you've collected them, they're older than 180 days. And so there's a terrible process that the law says you got to go through to try and rebut those. And but it's really impossible, an impossible barrier to meet. And you're saying that for that reason alone, this is an unconstitutional law, that you can't restrict the people's right to do constitutional, or not constitutional amendments, but rather citizens' initiatives, petition drives, to just create legislation by citizens. Because the Constitution of the state of Michigan gives us between the gubernatorial elections to do that 4-year window. That's the window, not some contrived thing that the electorates come up with to restrict things.
That's right.
Wow, I got that right. So
sure.
Today, what we came out of the gates with there when the starting blocks went off and we all come running out of there at the beginning of the show. We were saying that, hey, there was this announcement from the Court of Appeals and from the Supreme Court, and really the Court of Appeals just said we defer to the Supreme Court?
Yeah, so the Court of Appeals just, it had a one-sentence denial, saying that there's a lack of merit, and therefore they weren't going to address the case. They weren't going to allow what's called leave to appeal. Now, the Michigan Supreme Court went a little farther than that and just said they didn't believe the questions presented were basically worthy of the court's review. Unfortunately for us, and for all citizens in Michigan, we did not get any sort of reasoned opinion on any of this. The only reasoned opinion we got was from the Court of Claims, and one of the reasons we appealed that was because it completely ignored the major issues in the case. Wow. So let me step back here a little bit so your listeners understand this, because there's a lot of people with confusion. There's a lot of people spreading misinformation about what the initiative process actually is in Michigan. So the initiative process first started in Michigan in 1908, and that was for constitutional amendments only. In 1963, we enacted a new constitution in Michigan. That constitution had initiatives, which is creating a statutory law, and amendments, which is amending the Michigan Constitution. As you said earlier, the period for citizens to collect petitions are between the gubernatorial elections. You actually get one extra month for constitutional amendments because there's a higher signature requirement. 10% of voters in the last governor's election versus 8% for initiatives. So this year, this was, we had to collect about 252,000 valid voter signatures, where constitutional amendments were more up around, I believe, about 315,000 registered voters. So in 1973, a woman from Grand Rapids came close to succeeding in passing a petition that would have lowered legislator pay. So the legislature, in reaction to that, enacted the rebuttable presumption, which this has got a lot of people confused. Some people try to say that there's been a 180-day limit in Michigan petition history. There never actually has. In fact, there never was. The 180-day rebuttable presumption was just for petitions that were older than 180 days. There was a presumption that perhaps there was a duplicate signature because the petition had been out in the field so long, or that the person was not registered to vote. And because clerks were not required in the past to maintain records for a certain amount of time, it would actually be impossible to determine whether a person may have been registered to vote at a certain time. Under current law, clerks keep these records for at least 2 years. These are just local records. So the rebuttable presumption is enacted in 1973. The purpose of it is only ensuring that the signatures are still of registered voters in Michigan. Okay, so the next year, 1974, Michigan's Attorney General, Frank Kelly, declares it unconstitutional, because it is. For 13 years, the state of Michigan itself took that position and did not enforce it. 1986 comes along. There are two controversial constitutional amendments in play, including one by L. Brooks Patterson, the current Oakland County executive, to enact the death penalty in Michigan, which was very unpopular with the political establishment. We were actually the first state in the United States to ban the death penalty.
Right.
The second was an initiative that would allow voters to vote on utility rate increases, and power companies did not like that.
Right.
So they sued to enforce the rebuttable presumption, and for the first time, it went all the way up to the Michigan Supreme Court. The court then said the rebuttable presumption is constitutional, as applied to constitutional amendments. The case did not deal with statutory initiatives. They're two different things under two different sections of Michigan's Constitution.
Right.
So in 86, those two initiatives get skunked. This is in August of 1986. The Board of Canvassers passes this policy on how you rebut the presumption of signatures. Those campaigns in 86 had no chance of making it. Okay, it was over. It was too late for them. The Board of Canvassers passed this policy that said you had to have everybody over 180 days either sign an affidavit, or you had to have clerks verify that they were registered voters. Okay, fine. We flash forward about 30 years. No one has ever tried to do this. And in between the period of 1986 and probably 1997 or so, it probably was completely impossible to do, just logistically speaking. Now, we're talking about in 86 when this was passed. There wasn't really computers as we know them today. The ability to canvass several 100,000 signatures and to check duplicates is extraordinarily difficult. Okay, you don't have the spreadsheets and things like that you can check. So there was some sort of purpose in this, and at that time, the clerks were actually responsible for maintaining voter registration. They're no longer doing that. They have a part in it, but they don't. In 97 and 1998, a new system was implemented in Michigan called the Qualified Voter File. The state, at that point, had a computer database they created, and that was used to maintain the election system.
That's
At
a
that
smart.
same
No,
time,
that's a smart thing. I mean, it gives them, some computer quick access to just verify a voter signature.
100%. And what it also does, it allows you to see the whole voter registration history, too. So if Steve Green moved from South Lyon to the city of Detroit, you could see that. You could see when you were registered where. So anyway, that database, state law also says the Board of Canvassers is required to use that database in order to canvass petitions, and they're supposed to check for enough signatures. So again, we'll flash forward here about 9 years to now. No one had put this together. One of these initiatives only gets on the ballot about once every 7 years. They're typically done by the same people. They're done by billionaires, the Chamber of Commerce, or labor groups, or whatever, powerful political organizations that have a couple $1 million to get them up signatures in 180 days, so they never bother trying to deal with this cumbersome policy in the first place.
Is what makes them powerful money?
Money and organization. Someone like the UAW, for example, has resources. They have offices. They know how to phone bank. They know how to organize, things like that. So along comes us, and we figure out this way. We start doing our research, and we see that the Bureau of Elections actually says in their publications that there is a way to rebut the presumption of signatures beyond 180 days and contact us to see what it is. So I did that. And a lot of people, we take a lot of gruff from people and say, well, you didn't get your signatures in time. You really don't understand it. There was no 180-day time limit. That's never been a time limit. You have to understand that any of these restrictions related to 180 days of rebuttable presumption, policy to effectuate it, were all designed to destroy the ability of people to get ballot access.
Correct.
So now comes along 2016, and we figure this thing out. We figure out a way. We hire a company called Practical Political Consulting, which is typically involved in challenge petitions. They actually disqualified the prevailing wage petition last year. And so we came along and said, look, we want to have a perfect petition. We're going to check every single signature, and we're going to have our own log. And if anybody challenges us, we're going to be able to show definitively that we can support that we have the numbers, because we expected to be challenged, right?
We've got a verifiable way to make sure that we can account for those signatures, that they're not stale, that they're still valid the same way they were signed.
Absolutely. So we spent tens of thousands of dollars actually canvassing our own petition in preparation to comply with this 1986 policy. But here's the problem. Everybody acknowledges it's impossible. In our case, we had about 200,000 people that signed more than 180 days. We were able to verify about 137,000 of those, and I think it's more than that now because we've had more time, up front. We already knew that. Others, because we get our petitions in very late in the game, we didn't have time to process them. But we were prepared to show that to the Bureau. In fact, we did. We gave the Bureau evidence that all these people were registered to vote. Getting everyone to sign an affidavit is impossible. We actually asked the Bureau of Elections to confirm with us the format of an affidavit, because we weren't going to go out and try to get 200,000 people to sign affidavits and then have the Bureau tell us, oh, I'm sorry, we don't like the way you formatted this or whatever. They wouldn't give us one. So the only option was really to use the clerks. And people have to also realize that if we were to go around and try to get affidavits from 200,000 people, that would mean we would basically need hordes of notaries and divisions of bounty hunters to chase 200,000 people down across the state of Michigan in a couple of months. Impossible to do. Even if we had millions of dollars to do that and all these, like I said, bounty hunters to track people down, we wouldn't really be able to do it. So pretty much the Bureau of Elections pretty much acknowledged that. They said, okay, well, you can use the clerks. Well, guess what? Then the clerks refused to do it. And under law, the clerks don't have any ability, don't have any authority to do it. They don't have to do it. And while the state is telling us we had to do this, the state at the same time, this is documented in writing and ignored by the courts, the director of the Bureau of Elections told the clerks we don't have to rebut our signatures. So on the one hand, they're telling us we have to do this. On the other hand, they're telling the clerks, you don't have to do this. So they completely frustrated our ability to do it. And what something else people might not understand about this, we'll take Ingham County as an example. So you have a 10-line petition. We'd have to send that original petition to each and every municipal clerk, and there's 1,500 of them in Michigan, to have it rebutted. So if I have an Ingham County petition with 10 different signers from jurisdiction, I have to send the same petition to 10 different clerks. So that means I have to mail it off to the city of Lansing clerk. He has to check one voter, and he has to mail back to me. Then I have to send it to the East Lansing clerk, mail back to me. Then I have to send it to the Stockbridge clerk, mail back to me. Then the Meridian Township clerk, then the Delhi Township clerk, then the Lansing Township clerk, then the East Lansing clerk, then the Leslie clerk, then the Stockbridge clerk. on and on and on, the Williamson clerk. So you're talking about even validating one potential petition sheet. If you assume there's even a few days lapse time for each of those clerks to do that, it's going to take some time. And we have to do this with possibly 200,000 people. And we have to ensure that these clerks are actually going to do it. They're not going to snowball us or take a month to get the paper back to us or spill coffee on it or whatever they might do to screw up our petitions. So we tried to do this. We actually tried to do it. And then when the clerks refused to do it for us, and the Bureau of Elections told them they don't have to do it, we said, wait a minute, we got to have a way to do this. So we used a qualified voter file, and we were able to prove that all these people were in there. We gave that proof to the state when we filed. We had no workable option. This isn't that we wanted another option or we didn't want to do it or we couldn't do it or whatever. No, it was completely impossible to do. So that brings us to our lawsuit. We submitted our signatures on time. We complied with all the rules. We got enough signatures. We had 354,000 signatures that we turned in. And a lot of people may not realize this, but we collected far more signatures than that. But we actually pre-scrubbed our petitions, so we eliminated duplicates. We threw out petitions that we thought looked a little funny or that had tears on them or white out or whatever it was that people did or spilled coffee on them. We actually pre-cleaned our petitions so that when we went in there, they'd be spotless and that whoever wanted to come challenge us wouldn't really have any grounds to do so. So we gave this proof to the Bureau of Elections, and they just refused to acknowledge it, said we had to comply with this policy that they know we couldn't comply with, and they told the clerks we didn't have to comply with. So we sued. And unfortunately, the courts completely ignored the fact that we submitted this proof, and they completely ignored the fact that the plain language of rebuttable presumption that we met that burden, and they completely ignored the fact that the policy is unworkable. So it's really disappointing. Obviously, we all want to be on the ballot. We all worked very hard to do this. A lot of people put in a lot of effort, including you, Steve. So we said we're going to fight for the rights of every single signer. And, now here we are today with the highest court in the state of Michigan refusing to even look at the details of the case with any substantive analysis and ignoring all these crucial legal issues. So that leaves us where we are now. We are preparing a U.S. Supreme Court appeal. Whether that can be done in time for this year's ballot is going to be iffy. I mean, there is a little bit of time, but it's very short. So we are going to try to move along that as quick as we can. But either way, if we do not get on this ballot, we're not giving up this fight. The legal fight is not over. We are appealing to the U.S. Supreme Court. And if we were to receive relief, we would end up, presumably being on the next ballot.
So, but see is that a place you'd want to be? I mean, didn't we avoid as a group being on the ballot during the cycle that was just the? Oh, hang on, I got this kind of dirty pot situation. Hang on, so hard to hear. There we go. That's a little better. People can hear me better now. So it wasn't it because now I've lost my train of thought. The whole ballot thing. Getting the question on the ballot is the goal. We were not trying to be on the ballot during the gubernatorial election because traditionally there are fewer voters that come out during the gubernatorial elections to vote, especially that might vote in our favor, than would vote maybe during a presidential election. That's when all the real voters come out. I mean, that's when the people who come out to stand up behind their positions, at least from a liberal standpoint or from a Democratic standpoint, generally speaking, in this state, that's when that happens. Isn't that true?
Yeah, that's totally true, and that's why, in my opinion, the reason behind it all is that the powers that be, whoever you want to point the finger at, and there's a handful of people to point the finger at, did not want us on the ballot because it was very clear we were going to win. I mean, we had a proposal that was probably polling at about 65%. And if you for your listeners who aren't familiar with our proposal, this is not. We never claimed our proposal was perfect. We started off with some consensus points that one, people want marijuana to be legalized. They don't want adults to go to jail for it. We want medical marijuana patients to have access. You should be able to grow industrial hemp. And we wanted to prevent an oligopoly model coming where big money comes in and creates a crony capitalist system. And, friends of the governor make all the money growing marijuana and selling it to dispensaries or whatever kind of regulatory scheme they're going to come up with.
Like they did with alcohol.
Yeah, and like they did like alcohol, and like they tried to do in Ohio, and like they're probably setting up in California right now, and all this kind of stuff, right? We were the people's model. We were a reaction to prevent that. And we've got some, intellectual purists who don't like the fact that we put the lowest marijuana tax in the United States on marijuana, which is 10%, and things like that. Whatever. The point was, we designed it so that with the majority of Michigan voters, it would pass, and it would have passed. And that's, again, I think why they want to keep us off the ballot, because we were the most popular thing that would have been on the ballot this year. We're more popular than Donald Trump. We're more popular than Hillary Clinton. And it's freaked the establishment out that we figured out a way for grassroots groups to actually qualify for the ballot yet, because they haven't in a long time. Okay, and we've showed a way that it could be done by concerned citizens if they were willing to take the time and the effort to do it. And as a reaction to that, just like they did in 1973 and 1986, the legislature, instead of trying to sort any of this stuff out or give us a way to validate these signatures, they tried to limit the petitioning for the first time ever to 180 days. Okay, the first time the petition's ever been limited to 180 days was when Governor Snyder signed that bill on June 7th.
And that was really in response, if I'm not correct, to both the MiLegalize advancement in the petition drive and then also a similar positioning from a different group, the anti-fracking group.
100%. So the real dirt behind the scenes, besides the people who just want to stop us, was the Chamber of Commerce, the Michigan Chamber of Commerce, and the oil and gas industry wanted to stop the anti-fracking people. Now, they didn't get enough signatures, so they never filed. We're in a different position than them. But very early on, we connected with them and we shared our info, and that's what the establishment saw. They saw that, hey, these were concerned citizens groups that were willing to work hard enough, and they would put in the effort, and they would make the ballot. And particularly after Flint, probably Michigan voters would have voted this year also to ban hydraulic fracking. So, that's what happened, man. The powers that be, do not want people to make the ballot, and that's why the legislature this year restricted the right, because we showed there is a way that is possible. We showed how you could do it, and the powers that be just don't want that to happen, and they know that we would have been on, and that messes up a lot of people's plans that want to create this strong capitalist cannabis commerce system that we would have prevented. I mean, we would have been the most liberal marijuana law in the United States, and it would have been a model for other states to emulate. And so, in my opinion, that's the real scoop behind the scenes. That's what the establishment was fearful of. And I want to make one more point here, Steve. I'm sure you got other stuff here, but this isn't a partisan thing. Okay, this is we're not talking about the establishment, it's the political establishment in general. Both Democrats and Republicans are scared of this. In this particular instance, I have to commend the Democratic Party in general, not everyone, but in general, particularly Sam Singh, Jeff Irwin, and a few others who really fought for the people. Okay, it doesn't matter what your partisan background is. In this instance, the Democrats were the ones who tried to stop this new bill from getting jammed through. There were actually 6 Republicans who voted against it in the House as well. The Senate was 100% partisan line vote, and that's where this originated, with Senator Robertson in the Senate. So that being said, there was a few Republicans who stuck up for us. Most of the Democrats, if not all, stuck up for us. The establishment, though, isn't a partisan thing. There are still big groups, and I believe this is on both the right and the left, that do not want people to be able to access the ballot, and that's why they stopped us. And in this instance, it's the end of the current gubernatorial candidates, whether they be Bill Schuette, no surprise, Brian Kelly, but you don't see Dan Kildee or Gretchen Whitmer. They've been AWOL, they've been silent, they didn't have the courage once to even get involved in this issue and to stand up for us. And that tells you something, because they're part of the establishment. They're part of it. It's not the 1%, it's the 0.1% that is holding down and silencing the rights of Michigan, the people of the state of Michigan, to voice, to participate in this process. And that's a scandal, man. This should have been opposed by everyone, regardless of their party. And, so I want to commend everybody who worked on this petition, regardless of their background. I know we had Republicans, we had Democrats, we had independents, we had people who hate both parties, we had Green Party members, we had whatever, libertarians, everybody who helped support us. I want to thank you, because this isn't about a partisan thing. This isn't even about marijuana. This is us as of the state of Michigan coming together and trying to do something good. And our proposal, besides legalizing marijuana, was going to put money into roads and schools and local governments. Those are things that the legislature is currently sabotaging and underfunding. In fact, there's a report in the news today that local governments are receiving $4 billion less money than the state's even presiding. So our local governments, our schools, our roads are all being underfunded. And we came along with a plan to modestly tax marijuana, to legalize it, and to put the money into these things that we need to do. And that same government that's failing to do that sabotaged us. So for people out there wondering, what do you do next? You got to raise hell. And you got to tell all these politicians, particularly the establishment politicians, that they will never get your vote unless they step up and do something about this issue. It's not too late to undo the damage. I mean, our case will continue on. It's possible we'll still get a good ruling, although we have to be honest that going to the U.S. Supreme Court, it is rare to get the U.S. Supreme Court to grant you release. I mean, the chance was really with the Michigan Supreme Court to do the right thing. We saw the executive branch break down in Michigan. We saw the legislative branch break down in Michigan. And the courts are really your last resort. And the whole point of the initiative process was for the people to be another fundamental check and balance in the system. When you go back to your basic civics class, we're supposed to have checks and balances. You're supposed to have these branches of government. Well, we, the people, we're supposed to have this check when all these other branches of government failed. And in Michigan, they all failed. They all failed. And I don't know what we do now. To be honest with you, I don't know what we do now because, on one hand, it's real easy to get in a situation of despair or discouragement and to maybe get a little bit radical and just say, hey, there is no democracy. There's no fair play. Maybe we should play dirty. I would just encourage people, we have the moral high ground, okay? We've always had it. We're going to continue to have it. Just keep standing strong and pointing these corrupt bastards out wherever they are. And do not let these establishment politicians off the hook if they're not willing to take a stand for this. So if these gubernatorial candidates who are coming up in 2018 aren't willing to take a stand on cannabis legalization and they're not willing to take a stand on this right to initiative, then they don't get our vote. Plain and simple. Both parties, all parties, whatever. Don't give them support and make it very clear. That's probably our best option at this point because it's getting so late for 2016. This isn't really going to become, well, it could become an election issue, but most likely the parties are going to just avoid it because, again, that's the establishment, and most of them don't have the courage to deal with this. They don't want it, and that's why we're supposed to have this right, is so that people can step in these instances where the system breaks down. So I understand everybody's discouraged. We're discouraged, but we're not giving up. We're fighting a good fight. And all of you who have taken part in this have been a part of that. You should be very proud of it because when the history is written on all this, it will be very clear that we did the right thing. We complied with all the rules, and all the people who worked their butts off on this are the real heroes of Michigan's, democracy. We don't live in a democracy. We live in a constitutional republic if we're going to be technical, but that constitutional republic is meant to have democratic mechanisms in order to keep the system from imploding. And my big fear is that when the establishment removes these mechanisms that are meant to reform the system, they actually endanger our entire system because they're either going to encourage radicalism or we're also at the same time going to see the system fail to be reformed because the politicians won't do it. Because the system, and I'm not one of these people to tell you, oh, the system's rigged up. I'm an optimist. I see the system work sometimes. I see the system not work sometimes. Sometimes it works. In this instance, it didn't work, and it was rigged, and it's corrupt, 100%. There's no doubt about it. But that doesn't mean that it's always corrupt. And the biggest thing is we cannot adopt a mentality to believe that we must give up, that we're defeated, that we're downtrodden, because if we adopt that, then we will be. There's no doubt about it. You always have to get in the arena. You always have to fight, and you never have to give up, and you have courage. And the people who worked hard on this petition drive had that. And that's the spirit that's going to make, our state great and make this country great. It's not going to be Donald Trump or any of these other clowns that are, get up there and parrot these talking points to us, and what's the word, platitudes and placate us, with all these, it's the people. So don't forget that. it's up to us. It's always been up to us, and it will continue to be up to us. So I got to get off my soapbox, man. Sorry, I've been talking forever.
No, that's quite all right. I wanted to ask you, aren't we really setting up here, Jeff, a situation where the haves and the have-nots are really just at the final battleground? I mean, when the haves have taken the have-nots ability away to fight back politically because the people that they're electing to represent them aren't doing it. Which is really what this petition drive stuff is all about, isn't it? When the people take the power back from legislators because they're not doing their will. So
yeah, absolutely.
If you gut that from the system and the federal government at the end of the day says, whatever, haven't they really won? I mean, what do you have left to work with? Unless you like you say, you can go, deep pockets, which again, we're talking about the have-nots here, not the haves.
Right. Well, unfortunately, that's where we're headed. We're headed in the direction of elitists having more and more control of our system and the people having less and less control. So we really have two options. I mean, one, we continue to advocate and to battle politically for what's right, and we stay united and we stay strong and we prevail. I mean, the other the option is revolution. And frankly, I don't think the people are ready for revolution, and one man's revolution, is another man's nightmare, and that's messy. And I don't think anybody really wants that. I'm very clear about advocating violence or anything like that. But at some point, when your rights are taken away and you don't really have an ability to effectuate the system, you have to start wondering, well, what's the purpose? Does the system work for us, and do we overthrow it? And I mean, the Founding Fathers would at some point overthrow it. I don't think we're quite at that point, but we're pushing towards that point. Well, and I'd like to think that this is going to be a spark to get people to say, my God, we already knew it. We already knew the system is somewhat rigged.
Right.
This is now more definitive evidence. And hopefully that is the kind of thing that gets people, instead of feeling downtrodden and giving up, instead it means we just have to come back stronger and more united, and we win. And that really is how it's supposed to work, and it can work that way. So that's why I said I try to encourage people, don't give up, don't get all radical, don't think that it's over and we're totally defeated. That's what the elitists and the establishment want you to think. They want you to be weak. They want you to be downtrodden. They want you to believe that there's no chance.
They want you to eat that poison.
Give up.
They want you to eat that poison because then you are defeated by your own measure.
Right, right. And we have the power. The people do have the power. And that's what's so important. In this instance, we exercised it, we did everything right, and they just denied us. But again, it's not over yet. And this could be a rallying point for so much more. And I think that's maybe where we go with this next.
I got a couple of other points, and I think other people do too.
Sure.
If I'm allowed to invite the audience in, 248-278-8067. If you want to ask Jeff Hank a quick question, I know he doesn't have a lot of time, but we might be able to sneak you in if you want to ask him a quick in and out question. 248-278-8067. Our guest on the phone is MiLegalize's president, Jeffrey Hank, who is been working very hard, and I've just got to throw you all the kudos in the world, all the big ups in the world, Jeff Hank, for having marshaled this forward in the best way possible. I don't know who we could have had better at the front of this effort, honestly. So if you want to call and ask Jeff a question, but my question to you is this: in the interim. The first question is, what are our chances at the Supreme Court? You already told us, if I remember back in your monologue here, that the Supreme Court is a long shot. Isn't that kind of what you referred to? Not verbatim, but pretty close. Am I on target there?
Yeah. So the Supreme Court.
We're talking about the U.S. Supreme Court.
The U.S. Supreme Court takes about 1% of the petitions filed to it. So, yeah, it's I don't want to say it's a long shot, but it's unlikely. Now, not all those petitions that are filed to it really have merit. In our case, there's no doubt that, your readers or your listeners may have, just this summer, after we filed our lawsuit, actually, the U.S. Supreme Court came down with a case called Whole Women's Health, which struck down 2 Texas abortion laws on the undue burden standard. And they basically said these Texas laws are so burdensome, they're going to make it so these abortion providers can't provide abortions in Texas. Well, guess what? It's the same standard that's applicable to our case. It's applicable to all constitutional rights, whether you like abortion or not. It's not the issue here. Your right to petition is also a constitutional right recognized by the courts. And the state cannot use some policy that's impossible to comply with as an excuse to keep us off the ballot. That is the clearest example of a non-due burden there is. The greatest example is to deny the right entirely, which is what this policy does.
Right.
So anyway, this is, in many ways, we have a very good case for the Supreme Court. If they want to do anything with voting rights or initiative rights, ours is the kind of case that comes along once in a generation for them to do so. So,
and
we are optimistic.
Right now with the Supreme Court, we're in that crazy place where the Republicans are saying we're not gonna put your nominee up. We're gonna leave this at a 4-4 divided court until we get a new president adopted. So that doesn't that place us in a more precarious place given the position here? We're going to have a divided court. What if the court takes this up and is split on it? Then it defers back to state court. We're screwed again, isn't it? Isn't that how it works?
Yeah, you never know. I mean, it's tough to say, Steve. I mean, the court could take it and could do all sorts of things. I mean, really, all we want is for our signature to be counted. And,
right.
If we have enough signatures, put it on the ballot. That's all we're asking for. We're not asking for anything radical. So hopefully the Supreme Court will see it that way. And, I can't really go much farther than that.
It's hard to speculate, right? Listen,
Yeah.
we've got some people who are calling. Bear with me for a second while I put a couple on hold. And you might have a difficult time. Oh, that one's gone. Oh, hold on. What is going on here? Hold on. This one. That one goes. Hello. Hello, you're on the air with Jeff Hank. Can you hear me?
I am?
Yes, you are. Did you have a question?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I'm sorry I missed the first part of the show. This is Rev Steve up in Benzonia,
All right.
Michigan.
Hang on, Steve. I'm just going to translate it for you because I don't know if Jeff can hear you. It's Reverend Steve Thompson, Jeff Hank.
I can't.
You can't hear him. That's okay.
Hey, Reverend Steve.
I'm just going to kind of pass the information. We kind of got a screwy phone situation here today, so I'm just going to kind of translate the question, and then Steve can listen on hold. Go ahead, Steve. What's your question?
Are we going to pursue this to the U.S. Supreme Court?
I think the answer to that is yes, but I'm going to put you on hold so that you can hear the answer to the question from Jeff. Jeff, the question from Steve is, indeed, are we going to be in a situation now where we're going to take this to the Supreme Court? I think the answer to that is yes.
Yes.
All right, and let me just see if there's any follow-up from him. Steve, did you have anything else that you wanted?
Yes. I just want to tell Jeff and everybody else it's not over. We've worked hard, and we'll not quit until legalization happens in Michigan.
I'm going to go ahead and put you on hold, Steve, so you can hear the rest of the show because I know you're calling from a long ways away.
Thank you.
All right, hang on for a second. Jeff, he just wanted to congratulate you, and he underscored this. He said that he didn't hear the first part of the show, but he said exactly the same thing that you did. This isn't over. And he wanted to thank you and congratulate you. Let's see if we've got another caller here. Oh, that one's gone.
We love Reverend Steve. Thank you,
yes,
Reverend
he's
Steve.
awesome. Oh, and that one's gone as well. So it looks like Steve was the only one right now. Listen, the other thing that I wanted to say was this. In the interim, between now and we get this on in 2016, assuming that it gets there. Because we could theoretically start collecting again and get them all in a 180-day window, couldn't we, Jeff? I mean, that would be a terrible resort, but we could do that, couldn't we? And then between now and 2016.
It's always an option, but what people have to realize is that's really difficult to do. I mean, it's very difficult. We just went through this, and I mean, I can't tell you how many people think that this is easier than it is. It's so hard, again, that one of these things only makes it to the ballot and qualifies every, I think it's 7.57 years. And in order to qualify for the ballot and to get those finished in 180 days, as much as people like to tell you can rely on volunteers, you can't. Right. You have to have people out there full-time every day working, and that means you have to spend $1 million or $2 million to make the ballot. Now, in theory, you don't, and all volunteers can do it. But, you really need a lot of people to do it. Now, we may be in a situation now where people are so pissed off that maybe people would finally commit to actually getting it done. Because if there were enough people to commit, it makes everybody's burden so much easier. You don't have to collect as many signatures. But the problem is most people like to just talk the talk and they don't like to walk the walk. So it's just, in reality, extremely hard to get the signatures in 180 days. unless you have, $1 million or $2 million. And most people think it's a $2 to $3 million process now if you want to make it 180 days.
Right. So this is what I'm saying. So you just follow through the thought process with you so I can connect the dots. The election cycle happens. Michigan's not on the ballot. A bunch of other states are on the ballot and successfully get done, which I think they're going to do. I don't think they'd be there if they weren't going to get done. And so you're going to get this tremendous onslaught of cannabis entrepreneurship and industry taking place all across the country. And then isn't there going to be money in place to lobby together? Wouldn't these people have an interest, a direct interest in wanting to invest further in the cannabis industry and open up new barriers? This is like a NAFTA trade agreement in some way. Couldn't you just get some lobbying money from them and put those funds together between now and 2016 and get this on the ballot then easily just by collecting in that window?
You theoretically you can, but most people don't like to part with their money, and it's really hard to raise a couple $1 unless you have somebody who's a very generous donor. In this case, we had a very generous donor. His name is Kevin McCaffrey. He put up over $700,000 in his own money.
Wow.
Now, had we had that money up front, we probably could have made it in 180 days with our dedicated volunteers, because we collected approximately half of our signatures by volunteers. Right. And so, most people don't know this, but we collected somewhere around 375,000 signatures. Our goal was always to get to about 400,000, because that's really kind of what you need to get the margins to qualify. And, it's just, you would like to think that people will step up to the plate, but most people won't. And in this case, we did have a lot of, cannabis entrepreneurs help, but, on a very small scale. So it sounds in theory like you can do it, but without people committing, it's hard to do. So, maybe in a couple of years that will change, but in a lot of places, it typically takes one person or an organization with a lot of money to put the money up front. Like the whole California thing, Sean Parker put some money up. That kind of got everybody rallied around that there. And that's how you see it happen in most places. So without a firm commitment of big money up front from somebody, it's unlikely that anybody's going to get the signatures in 180 days. So
here's another interim question then. If we don't get this done, one way or another, either through the Supreme Court says, this is unconstitutional, they got to count your signatures, or at least they have to go back through the regular validation process or use the rebuttal process. You've got to go through and validate these signatures or not. You can't just assume that they're stale. Let's say that happens. I'm just pulling a rabbit out of a hat. Let's say we go down that path. So the state's forced to deal with it, puts it on the ballot in 2016. I'm sure there'll be a lot of fighting from the Attorney General, maybe another Supreme Court challenge. Who knows? But we get it there. And in the meanwhile, did you see what came down from the Senate today? The most recent version of House Bill 4209, just disseminated by the Senate, supposedly the version to be presented to the Senate Majority Leader today. He'll then decide whether or not the pending state legislation will be discharged from the Senate Judiciary Committee and voted on in the full Senate next week. Make your opinions heard on this at the legislature. And also here, this is a posting from Alan Peisner in Michigan Grannies for Grass. But then he posts the PDF there. And, basically it's a Senate substitute for House Bill 4209, which you pretty much are familiar with that, or you're not?
Yeah, which I'm not quite sure what your question though was, Steve.
So the question is, because I didn't pose the question, you're correct, and I apologize. So setting that up, don't you think that just given the fact today that the Senate took this action in disseminating this and saying, look, we're going to take a vote today on whether or not we're just going to discharge this from the Senate committee and make a full. They're taking action to take this back themselves. Won't we be giving a lot of pause for the legislature to act, especially given that there's going to be, possibly some different people in place in government? Maybe we win back a House or something in this next race if we start leaning in the Democratic way.
That could be, and I don't pretend to know all what's going on, but what's happening in the legislature is primarily interests that want to make a bunch of money off of commercial marijuana, and our legislators in general do not have the interest of the people in mind in any of this, or we would have had things like 4210 and concentrates for epileptic patients passed long ago. These heartless bastards are letting children suffer seizures. So I just have nothing good to say about the legislature. There's some good legislators. Again, Jeff Rubin, Sam Singh, did a phenomenal job fighting for this, and I know there's some people in there with some good hearts. But in general, there are just a lot of people, and we'd probably be better off governed by a random selection of some prisoners from the Michigan Department of Corrections and these clowns. So, who knows, Steve? Things are going to change, and we put a lot of pressure. We're probably causing change, and probably a lot of this, the denial of putting this on is probably because the people in the legislative process, people trying to corrupt that process, do want to put a system in place, and that system will probably be better than what we have now.
Right.
But it's still going to be convoluted. So we'll that's a big part of all this. Though we are putting pressure on the system to change, and we'll continue to do that. And I think you will see change because these people, however dumb they are, they don't live in a total bubble. And as you said, there's going to be several states that the whole West Coast is probably going to be legal.
Right.
If you have Nevada, California, and Arizona going this year, it's going to be really hard for, and this is what's so sad, is that, we're missing out on this. We should be at the front of this room. We should be leaders instead of followers. And, that's one of the problems with this disenfranchisement here. But maybe these legislators will get it. I heard Harlan Meekhoff today talking about the car cap of the world, and how we have to lead the way on driverless cars. And I agree with that. But the same logic applies to what we're doing here. We should be trying to lead in everything. Why don't we want to be the best in everything? Now, these guys, a lot of them don't have that mentality. But I think that they're not immune from it. So as rotten as some of these legislators are, we can't give up on that process because, again, if we start to think it's so bad that we don't participate in it, then the bad people are going to be the only ones to show up. I mean, politics is a participatory thing. If you just let all the bad guys show up, they're going to create bad policy. So you got to get in the arena, and I encourage people to keep telling their legislators, how to make these things better because they're probably still human, I should say, at the end of the day. So,
it's really hard to imagine.
Sorry, I'm really sour.
No.
I'm really sour right now.
Look, you're a man after my own heart. Look, I can't stand those guys either. They really get my goat when they're not doing the will of the people and they're out there lining their pockets and worried about whether they're getting elected or not. Look, it doesn't matter if you're elected if when you're in control you have no vote because you sold it to somebody. It's just insane, Jeff Hank. I just called you Jeff Irwin. Jeff Hank from MiLegalize, thank you so much for coming on the show. We've taken up 48 minutes of the show, and I thank you for coming on and giving us the first crack at the response for what happened today, because it is alarming.
Thank you.
It is shocking. And what can people do to get involved? How can we still roll up our sleeves? Are we still raising money? Is that what's going on? Real quick, because we got seconds left.
Well, yeah, people can. I mean, we still are, and it's expensive. You have to file. We have to hire a special printer to go to the U.S. Supreme Court. And,
so, can they go to MiLegalize?
MiLegalize.com. You can make a donation, and this isn't over. We had a meeting today, actually.
You're getting the full melt.
Your pets aren't just animals, they're members of your family. That's why we are excitedly wagging our tail about our hemp-based product that caters specifically to your best friend. Hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats, and really all kinds of pets. Hemp oil drops are made from virgin, cold-pressed organic hemp oil. Our extraction process ensures the highest quality oil for your pet, with superior taste, smell, and nutrition. We hold ourselves to the highest standards, never using heat, chemicals, or preservatives in making our hemp oil products for pets. Pick up a bottle of hemp oil drops today at select retailers or online at hempwell.com. Hempwell. Hemp health for pets.
If you missed the last Full Melt show,
you missed a lot.
Yes, sir. We are just here to get you qualified, okay, for the lower interest rates.
This is a Visa card.
Okay. It's a Visa card, starts with full, right?
So why do you need the numbers off the card?
I was going to let you know, what is your new interest rate going to be and what you qualified for, okay?
Well, wouldn't it be a security risk if I was to give my card number over the phone?
Sure, we are the ones who send you the billing statements every month.
Aren't you really just a liar? Aren't you just lying about this? Aren't you just trying to steal my credit card number? Oh, you are, you little piece of shit. You're a little fucking liar, aren't you? You're a little foreign piece of shit, aren't you? You're a little foreign fucking puke, aren't you?
That's what you are. You're fucking piece of shit.
Oh no! You get to suck my fucking. You get to suck my fucking American dick, you foreign piece of fucking shit. There you go. That's how you do that.
Full melt. Imagine a world where patients can use marijuana like any other medicine. The Marijuana Patients Organization challenges the status quo by helping our neighbors to enjoy a better quality of life. Visit the MPO at marijuanapatients.org and enjoy informative articles, engaging debates, and information about treatments, doctors, and dispensaries in your area. Over 50,000 people have registered at marijuanapatients.org since 2010. Join us at the Marijuana Patients Organization today, marijuanapatients.org.
When you need legal help, you don't want to guess at who's standing next to you in court. And when it comes to a medical marijuana defense, it's even smarter to partner with a lawyer before you need one. Based in Royal Oak, David Rudoy has a proven history of not being afraid to take your case all the way to the Supreme Court and win. Find the law offices of Rudoy Law
at RudoyLaw.com.
RudoyLaw.com is a quick reference on your rights concerning Michigan medical marijuana
and up-to-date news.
That's RUDOI Law.com. Call 248-935-9074 now and talk about your legal needs, because at RudoyLaw.com, we don't just stand up for you, we stand up with you.
What's up with these things, Victor?
We decided to give ourselves stickers for each feature we release. We read about 10,000 suggestions a week to create features that, as traders, we'd want to use.
10,000 suggestions? Who reads all of those?
He does.
For all the confidence you need, TD Ameritrade, you got this.
Wish your skin could bounce back like it used to? Neutrogena Hydro Boost Water Gel instantly quenches skin to keep it supple and hydrated day after day. With hydrating hyaluronic acid, which retains up to 1,000 times its weight in water. This refreshing water gel plumps skin cells with intense hydration and locks it in.
For supple, hydrated skin that bounces back.
Hydro Boost from Neutrogena. See what's possible.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show. Mad, Earth to Mad Blaster.
I'm the Mad Blaster.
Earth to Mad Blaster.
I'm the Mad Blaster.
You down with OPP? Yeah, you know me. That's what you're...
Mic check.
Mic check.
Am I good? Mic check, what?
Mic.
Yeah.
Got a mic check.
Got a mic check.
Get this thing on.
I'm going to assume it's on.
Mine's on. Is yours on?
I hope so.
Tap it.
Tap. Yeah, it's on.
No, you can't say tap. There. If you say tap when you actually tap, it masks the tap.
It's a mental thing.
Welcome back to the Full Melt Show. It's been a crazy day. It's raining here like cats and dogs. It's a dark day in the cannabis community here in Michigan, being that the both the Court of Appeals and, I really had hope in the Supreme Court sticking up for the people and saying, look, you've gone a little too far here in limiting the people's power under the Constitution to create legislation through initiative and petition driving. Oh, here we go again. Should we push the button?
Push the button. Button's pushed.
We'll get Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood here.
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Oh.
No?
It's dead. Yeah,
Whatever.
just hang up. Let's see if we can get Reverend Thompson back. Hello, Reverend Thompson, are you there? Oops, hang on. Are you there? Oh, I got to push. There, maybe you can hear us now. Reverend Thompson, are you there?
I'm still here.
Okay, so, did you get a chance to hear what was going on there? Just push the button again. See, we got...
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Hang on, Rev Thompson. Hello, are you there? Caller? You're on the Full Melt.
Hi, how's it going?
I'm okay. Who's this?
I can barely hear you, Steve.
Yeah, you can hear. Yeah, sorry, it's hard to hear, I know, but who's calling?
Calling out here from Bismarck, North Dakota.
Wow.
Boy, I just can't barely hear you, buddy.
No, I'm sorry. Let me see if I can fix that. Hold on. You're coming in through here.
I got... Oh, damn it, I lost him.
No, you didn't lose me. I'm here. We're here. Can you hear us? Oh, he hung up.
He left.
I wonder if we can call him back. Push the button. There we go. Sorry, Steve. We were trying to get this guy from North Dakota. I think they're near some place where that whole Indian thing is going on, where they're doing the whole. You heard about that? The where they're putting the pipeline in over there. Is it in South Dakota?
Oh, my daughter and my son-in-law are involved in that.
Wow. I sure would like to, during the show sometime, maybe I can get a call maybe I can make a call to Sharmy or Mike Diesel or one of your friends. There's very limited cell phone reception out there, isn't it? It's kind of spotty.
It's real bad out there, and this news media blackout is just amazing to me. I almost look for them to kill a bunch of people before it ever becomes news.
Well, isn't the blackout done by the chief? I thought the chief was doing the blackout so that people wouldn't get in trouble for being out there. I'm a little unfamiliar with the details of the story, Steve. Can you help us out on that? I mean, I know. Go ahead.
Excuse me, I can't help you out a whole lot other than what I'm getting. I do know that presidential candidate Jill Stein is out there,
wasn't she painted. Did she get arrested or something?
I don't know if she got arrested, but I do know she spray painted some of the pipeline company's equipment.
Oh, well.
I know that Nelson and Neil Diamond have been out there. I know a lot of people that are going out there, but I don't think the black news media blackout is coming from the chief. I don't think that's true at all.
Well, I mean, who else could do the media? Who could black out the media? I mean, the media have right to go any place, especially if there are protesters there. You would think that they would just have full access. I want to know who's saying that you can't. That's what I want to know. Because I'm the first guy to show up when you say you can't broadcast. I'm the first guy to show up with a mic and a camera.
Absolutely, and I would be too.
I'm just saying the whole reason we have the First Amendment here in this country and the freedom of the press, and let's face it, the electronic news media are our modern day press. We just do it with digital media now instead of, printing and, traditional terrestrial broadcasting. So it would follow then that we should have the ability, the right, the freedom, the constitutional entitlement to go and have freedom of the press, wherever that might be.
Let me tell you something, Steve. Back when my friends Tom and Raleigh were murdered down in Vandalia, Michigan.
You're talking about the Rainbow Farm. You're talking about the Rainbow Farm.
We are talking about the Rainbow Farm, or I am. When we put a sign on the main drag in front of what we called the mansion, which was a home that Tom and Raleigh were restoring that was part of the Underground Railroad movement. We put a sign in the front yard, a big sign in the front yard that says, those who deny a nonviolent revolution demand a violent one. And boy, do I see that coming true more and more and more. Because it seems like, just what happened to us today with the with the Michigan Supreme Court. How do we get any justice anymore? None of us seem to be getting any justice unless we're rich or powerfully tied to the rich. Those seem to be the only ones that are getting any kind of justice, if you can call it that.
They certainly are, Steve, the ones that seem to get the most out of the justice system. They seem to have the most rights. They seem to have the best legal defense. They seem to have the best positioning with politicians and leverage of political capital. They seem to be the ones with all the property and the ones collecting all the rent. These are aristocrats.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And the only way that we can change that in a nonviolent way is get politically involved and start getting these idiots, these haters, these evil people out of office and putting people in office that will truly represent all of us.
I think the question is, Reverend Steve, and I think the popular question is, aren't they all evil? Isn't the whole system corrupt from the core? How can you take a bite of an apple that is rotten at the core and expect that it's going to be a good bite?
Well, I firmly believe that we are long overdue for a third-party candidate. And,
but the problem...
all my life, I've voted for what I considered to be the lesser of two evils. I refuse and will not do it this time. I am voting for Jill Stein, Green Party. Even though I am a registered Democrat, I am a precinct delegate in Benzonia Township up here, and I serve on the executive board of the Democrat Committee here in Benzie County, and I'm not the only one that's voting for Jill Stein. Practically that whole board is.
You know what, Steve? You know what I did this year? Because I'm also a precinct delegate. In fact, in this township, I've been the precinct delegate for my precinct two terms now. And this past time, I didn't have time to get on the election on the ballot through traditional means. I didn't do the traditional filing ahead of time, so all I was left with was write-in candidate. And so I wrote my own name in and elected myself precinct delegate again. So I won the election by a vote of 1.
There you go.
Well, look, if there's more than one way to skin a cat if you want to get something done, right? But
it shows the power that we as one have over our government.
I can tell you that I was this dismayed with my own party because I've always been a strong, participating, active Democrat, like you say you are yourself. But I went down to in my I'm in the 11th precinct. I'm in the 11th, not the 11th precinct, the 11th district, the 11th congressional district in Michigan. So in that district, they held the county convention, right, which happens like immediately following the election. They have the county convention, and so there's short notice, and they held it at the Farmington Library, right? Well, they didn't tell you or didn't stop to have the foresight that there might be more than one library and somebody might not be from that area. And so I went to the other library. But then when I got there, I'm like, oh, crap. I've got a service dog. I'm a little bit mobility disabled. So it took me a while to get back over to the other library. And so when I got there, they're like, oh, you're not here by 10:45, so you can't vote. And I'm like, well, look, the whole reason to be here is to vote, right? Isn't that the whole purpose of being at the convention as a precinct delegate is so you can have a say for your precinct, so you can vote?
Absolutely.
So they wouldn't let me vote. So, and I was planning on, running for, state party, convention. Maybe I can get down there and get on one of the committees down there. Isn't that what everybody wants to do?
I would think so.
So I had voted. I already started voting. They took my vote and they counted it, and it was a tie. The lady that we were voting for a committee tied with some other lady. And so then somebody else stood up and objected and said, hey, is his vote allowed to count because, he came in late? And they're like, oh, well, yeah, the party rules say that you can't vote. So it's no longer a tie. We're going to take another count. And so they took another count and the other person won. And you know what I did? I stood up and I left. I stood up and I don't blame you. I mean, what's the whole point of being there? My own party wouldn't let me vote. I was present for the vote. It wasn't like I couldn't be active for the vote. Why would you create rules that say I can't frickin' vote?
And that would be my question. Who created these rules? The executive committee of that county?
Nope, it's the party. It's the state party that created those rules. And that's what I'm saying. Our own frickin' party is poisoned at the core. Why would you create a rule like that?
I have no idea.
So
that's just pressing voters.
They called me back a couple days later to say, hey, you're the precinct delegate. Here's some election materials, and we'd like you to do this and this and this. And I'm like, you know what? You can stuff it. Because I'm not going to be participating in a party that is going to, rule me out of my own opportunity to vote for my precinct.
Yeah. My local candidates up here, they're running on the Dem ticket for local county commissioners, head of Benzonia Township, our own Dan Scripps, who's running for 101st District against Ray France. Well, actually, Ray France is leaving, but he's running against Vanderwall, a Republican that would be just like Ray France, if not worse. And then also Lon Johnson, who is running to take Dr. Benishek's place in our 1st district. I know personally where all those men stand on marijuana and on legalization, and that makes me support them. But they also know that I will not support Hillary Clinton in any way, shape, or form.
Well, and to me, it's at this point, it's about I don't want Trump to win. I could not foresee in America, and I said this before when the second President Bush came into office. I'm like, I can't believe you just elected the stupidest person that was on out of any of the panels. The America just put the dumbest guy out of all the people running for president in charge of this country, and then look what he did to it. Can you imagine what somebody like Donald Trump would do to this country if he were able to screw with our foreign policy, mess with our foreign relations, he would completely upset. He would be a Putin in America is what he would be.
I have to ask myself, I understand, and I agree with you completely, Steve. He would be what we're talking about is the lesser of two evils, because as far as I'm concerned, he's evil and Hillary's evil.
Well, I believe you're right, but I'm just saying at least I think, I mean, I'm not a Hillary fan by any means. I loved her husband. I liked Bill Clinton. I was a big Bill Clinton supporter. In fact, I shook Bill Clinton's hand after he said, "I feel your pain." I'm like, hey, you got me picking up what you're putting down. You know what I'm saying? And look what President Clinton did for our country. He did great things for our country, except for I think he screwed up on NAFTA, and he screwed up on the crime bill. I think you were just placating to Republicans then, trying to say, because at that point in time, the Republicans had taken over the House and the Senate, and he didn't have much control anymore. So I think just to get stuff done, he was like, okay, well, I can play in this arena. But I think those were poor choices, and they did screw our country over. But all in all, I was happy with that with President Clinton. And I would like to see him have some effectual say into a Hillary Clinton presidency. I am not exactly happy with that snap-happy, not very politically friendly to the press. She does not like the press. She doesn't like questions from the public. She doesn't like. I could see her holding a very Reagan-esque type, press conference where people have to raise their hand, and then she'll call on you if she wants to, and she probably won't hold very many of those press conferences. The only time being when she has to, and then she'll do that traditional. Everybody's still asking questions, and she'll turn her back and march towards the doors. I just don't think she's going to be very responsive. I think she's going to be conciliatory, and I think she's going to have crap up her sleeve and favors to pay back from decades long. That's what I'm worried about with Hillary. But it's a much more benign situation overall than letting a loose cannon go at the presidential helm, for crying out loud.
I totally agree, and I've got the TV on right now. It started at 8 o'clock, basically questions being asked of her and Trump, and I was interested in seeing what they both had to say.
Well, Reverend Thompson, I thank you for calling. Did you want to stay on hold while we finish up the show? We still got a good half hour to go if you want to listen on, because we're about to hit the commercial break, and there's some other stuff. I wanted to try and see if we can't get some response on the South Dakota situation. I want to explain the situation to the people who are listening, what's happening in South Dakota, even though it's not necessarily cannabis related. It's still up our political alley. I mean, this is still fair for our community. This is still the little guy. This is still the little guy trying to fight back against the big guy, because the big guy is doing what he is doing despite the will of many, many people, and they're destroying tribal land out there. I mean, I've been given images, visual images, not actual photos, but descriptions of where there are burial remains of people from ancient tribes all along where they're digging up this pipeline for miles and miles and miles. And these people are sitting in peaceful protest saying, please stop doing this. You're going to contaminate that river you're trying to put that pipeline under. You've got a terrible record. Reverend Steve Thompson, we're out of time. I'm just going to put you back on hold. We'll be right back with more information and updates on cannabis news here on this show.
Your pets aren't just animals, they're members of your family. That's why we are excitedly wagging our tail about our hemp-based product that caters specifically to your best friend. Hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats, and really, all kinds of pets. Hemp oil drops are made from virgin, cold-pressed organic hemp oil. Our extraction process ensures the highest quality oil for your pet, with superior taste, smell, and nutrition. We hold ourselves to the highest standards, never using heat, chemicals, or preservatives in making our hemp oil products for pets. Pick up a bottle of Hempwell drops today at select retailers or online at hempwell.com. Hempwell, hemp health for pets.
Attention. Get ready to write down a very important number.
Michael does not know how to fail. Second place is loser.
If you have a medical marijuana case and need legal representation, call the best, attorney Michael Comorn.
He's very passionate in the courtroom.
Getting the best outcome requires quick legal action, and it needs to start with one call, toll-free to attorney Michael Comorn. 800-656-3557. Write it down, 800-656-3557.
Michael Comorn gave us our life back.
Attorney Michael Comorn. Vigorous criminal defense.
Ram trucks are reaching new heights when it comes to capability and efficiency. The Ram Heavy Duty is the most capable full-size pickup on the road today. And the Ram 1500 is the most fuel-efficient full-size pickup ever. So what does that mean? It means Ram trucks are built for the long haul. Ram, America's longest-lasting pickups.
RootMetrics, in the nation's largest independent study, tested wireless performance across the country. Verizon won big with 153 state wins. AT&T got 38, Sprint got 2, and T-Mobile got 0. Verizon also won first in the U.S. for data, call speed, and reliability. AT&T got text. Stuck on an average network? Join Verizon, and we'll cover your cost to switch.
Introducing Sacred Elements, a place for natural and alternative healing for the mind, body, and soul. Sacred Elements. It's one place, all solutions.
Registered, licensed, certified, ordained.
Sacred Elements.
Massage, hypnosis, Reiki.
Sacred Elements.
Raindrop, aroma and color therapy, body detox, ministry, life coaching, weight and nutrition counseling.
Sacred Elements. Next to the Sweet Leaf, 400 South Dorr Highway, Flint.
11 to 7 daily, closed Sunday.
Call 810-259-2570.
Play-Doh Compound can help kids practice communication skills. Start by presenting the visual of the letter or word. Then ask them to mold the Play-Doh compound into the shape of the letters. It's an effective way to foster speech and even writing.
Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Dorr Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571.
My name is Kubo.
When people say Kubo,
Kubo,
they're talking about the best animated movie of the year.
Whoa, show off.
Kubo is captivating.
You got my attention.
Kubo is charming.
Don't even.
Grumpy monkey.
Kubo is an unforgettable adventure that will delight fans of all ages.
Like me?
Yes!
Oh boy.
Kubo, in theaters and Real D3D, rated PG.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Radio show.
So, just for people coming back from the break here, I found out that I did get a hold of Sharmi. I was talking to her as the music started fading, and I had to get off. Her call ended. She's having a difficult time over there with the service where they're at. I'm not sure if that's because it's normally like that or if there's some other interruption in service. There is kind of a media blackout happening in the South Dakota area. Let me enumerate what is happening out there for you, point by point, if I may. This is according to, this was posted yesterday. Bakken pipeline construction temporarily halted as protests rage. And if you look at the photo posted here, there is a modern day Indian in traditional war paint. He's shirtless. He's in the desert there of North Dakota. And there is a huge encampment behind him. His name is John Don Ilone Reed, an Army veteran and member of South Dakota's Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe, at an oil pipeline protest near the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation in southern North Dakota. That was August 25th of 2016, this picture. Reed said he fought in Iraq and is now fighting for our children and our water. A federal judge brokered a temporary agreement in an emergency hearing over the construction of the Bakken Pipeline, or Dakota Access Pipeline. The Standing Rock Sioux Tribe agreed to the deal along with the pipeline's builders, as well as the Army Corps of Engineers. Go ahead and take that call. Mr. Rogers, that call for us.
Mr. Rogers.
Hello, you're on the Full Melt Show. Can you hear us on the Full Melt Show? Hello. I know it's...
What the heck is going on?
I'm sorry, I know it's kind of hard to hear, but we can hear you, so say what you wanted to ask. Go ahead. You can ask your question.
Gosh, I wish I could talk.
You can talk. Can you hear us better now? Is that a little better? Can you hear us better now? Can you hear us better now?
I'm still hearing it. I can't be able to make you out.
That's okay. Ask us your question. What's your question? What did you want to say?
Well, I just live in here. I live about 30 miles from the protest site, and like I spoke with Charmy when she was coming on out here, and the last gentleman was saying about the media blackout. I don't think it's a media blackout, my friend. It's just there's a technology blackout there in that reservation in the area of North Dakota. It's North Dakota, not South Dakota.
Right.
It's close to the South Dakota border. Not it's in North Dakota. It's Cannibal, North Dakota.
Right.
There's just no cell reception, and that's the problem.
I tell you what, this is Eric, right?
Yes, Eric Owen Sr. That's correct.
I tell you what, Eric, you've got Facebook Messenger, yes?
Gosh, I can't hear you, Steve.
I'm gonna call you back on Facebook Messenger.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay,
I'll be right waiting.
There we go, because then he can hear us. All right, that was horrible. So that's Eric Owens Sr. He is a Facebook friend, and he knew we were talking about this tonight. And he heard us talking about it yesterday. And Eric happens to live about 30 miles from that location that I'm talking about in this story here. Let's just go ahead and get Eric back on the phone. But I'm gonna key him in a different way so he can hear us better. I don't know what's wrong. We tested that line before it. I don't know. That thing is just ridiculous. So, Eric, let's see if we can find you here. There he is. Let's just see if we can get him on this way. Oh, I got to plug him in. It helps if we plug him in. There we go.
Steve.
Oh, there you are. Are you there, Eric?
Perfect. Loud and clear, sir.
Now you can hear what we're saying.
Perfectly.
So it's amazing that we have this ability to connect in different ways. Like if I can't get you by phone, or if you're having a hard time in one method, we can use another method. So we're using the Facebook Messenger method. Thank you, Facebook.
It's nice to know that if you don't give up, you can find a way.
Well, and that's really the theme of the day, isn't it? Don't give up.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
You heard about what happened here in Michigan today. Have you been listening to the show?
I didn't get to hear the beginning of the show where you got to speak with Attorney Hank.
Yes.
Is he going to be filing with the Supreme Court, or is he going to?
The answer to that question is yes. Supreme Court filing is underway. The problem is that it's at this point, I think, extremely unlikely. I would give it a 98% chance of not being on the ballot this fall, because it may take the Supreme Court too long to respond or to take the issue up, not in that order, to take the issue up and to respond. Because really by September 9th, only 2 days from now, they're supposed to start printing the ballots to send out to the people overseas for absentee ballots.
Yeah.
So everything's got to be printed, and it's got to be starting now. Because I think they're required under law to deliver those absentee ballots by a certain date.
Yeah.
And I guess the only thing they could do is put an injunction up on that law, on that requirement, and say, hey, you don't need them that early. You can spare a few days while we figure out what's going to be on the ballot. See, now, if I was in charge, that's what I'd say. You know what? Let's put a hold on this other law. Let's temporarily suspend this other law so that we can figure out an issue and see what's going to get on the ballot. Because these guys have a legitimate claim. Let's hash the issue out, and if the issue leans in their favor, leave them be on the ballot. You're just going to get your ballot a week late. Who cares? You have plenty of time to fill it out and send it back in.
That would be a nice thing, Steve.
So,
I like that idea.
I'm going to go ahead and, if you don't mind, I'm going to pick up.
Answer questions. I have a lot of things to talk about, and so we can talk about the pipeline, or we can talk about the issues in Michigan.
Well, I wanted to finish. I was reading the story to people when you called about what happened. So now the federal judge brokered a temporary agreement in an emergency hearing over the construction of the pipeline. And so what this means is They can't. So I'm just going to read it. U.S. District Judge James Boasberg partially halted construction until he reached a more complete decision on Friday. But the judge did not halt work from progression on nearby private land. An attorney for the tribe said it was grateful for the partial stoppage, but disappointed that some point of the important sacred sites that we had found and provided evidence for will not be protected. The fight over the pipeline's construction has prompted protests that turned violent over the weekend. Construction crews' bulldozers went 20 miles out of their way to demolish sacred sites along the pipeline's pathway in North Dakota, according to Tim Mentz. He's the former historic preservation officer for the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. So we're not only talking about, national landmarks from just a historical perspective and from a tourism perspective, but also sacred sites that are part of Indian tribal
and Steve,
lands.
I got some news that you'd probably want to hear about that since you told me about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just the fact that I know because I hear local news. I live in this area.
Yeah.
There's conflicting issues right now. There are conflicting issues.
Okay.
With people of the area, whether have they really found burial sites, or is it a lie?
Well,
and the word come back in the community that I live in, the Bismarck-Mandan area, which is just north. It's the only area, because I guess I shouldn't say like where you live in Michigan, where you drive from area to area. Oh, here we are so in such a vast area that the Bismarck-Mandan area is the only area. We live in a sea of green, my friend.
Okay.
And so you're going to have to drive to Fargo 200 miles to get to your next metro area. And then when you go west, you're going to have to go hundreds and hundreds of miles till you find another into Montana to Billingsley.
Well, I've been through that route. I've been through that route once before, Eric Owens Sr., heading out to from Michigan to Colorado to go to the Cannabis Cup there.
Yeah.
So I'm familiar with the ground you're talking about. It's vast and wide, and your nearest neighbor is, 100 miles away minimum.
20 miles. Exactly.
Yeah.
Out here, we leave our houses unlocked. Why? Because if someone needs to use the phone, they need to use it. I grew up in Michigan. Why would you do that? And they're like, well, why would you leave that? What if someone needs to get in the house because something happens?
Yeah, Eric, hang on a second.
Like, what the hell?
Eric, hang on a second. We're about to hit the break. We'll come back and we'll finish this thing about this whole protest over this crazy pipeline going in under the river in North Dakota.
Yeah, just get
hang on,
ready
we'll be right back.
You're getting the full melt.
Promotional consideration provided by NoSmell.com, pioneering the storage market for cannabis users. The NoSmell patented bag technology offers users 100% smell-proof detection from even the most sophisticated of noses. NoSmell.com, so nobody knows. When placing your order for a NoSmell bag, make sure to use discount code FULLMELT and take 10% off the entire order. Learn more about NoSmell technology at NoSmell.com. If you missed the last Full Melt show,
you missed a lot.
All right, so there's this idiot reporter out in Grand Rapids today. I saw her on a promo for some show she's doing about kids and drugs, and she's interviewing a policewoman and a prosecutor. Check this out.
These things sound like something that drug addicts would use. Are regular teenagers using butane?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
When you are out there, you're seeing kids are you seeing it younger and younger? Are you seeing it used in homes more frequently? What's actually happening?
Okay, that's a stupid question, you old bat. Can you come up with an original reporter's question? One that somebody can actually answer?
Is it addictive? Is it something that's going to get a kid in trouble? Can people manage their use?
Well, I think that's one of the biggest myths.
Again, I just have to take issue with this. Wood TV in Grand Rapids, this lady needs to study up before she sticks a microphone in an official's face and asks an idiot question. When you need legal help, you don't want to guess at who's standing next to you in court. And when it comes to a medical marijuana defense, it's even smarter to partner with a lawyer before you need one. Based in Royal Oak, David Rudoy has a proven history of not being afraid to take your case all the way to the Supreme Court and win. Find the law offices of Rudoy Law
at rudoylaw.com.
RudoyLaw.com is a quick reference on your rights concerning Michigan medical marijuana
and up-to-date news.
That's RUDOI law.com. Call 248-935-9074 now and talk about your legal needs, because at RudoyLaw.com, we don't just stand up for you, we stand up with you. Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience, bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Dorr Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571. 571.
My moderate to severe chronic plaque psoriasis made a simple trip to the grocery store anything but simple. So I had an important conversation with my dermatologist about Humira. He explained that Humira works inside my body to target and help block a specific source of inflammation that contributes to my symptoms. In clinical trials, most adults taking Humira were clear or almost clear, and many saw 75% and even 90% clearance in just 4 months.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure. Before treatment, get tested for TB. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB, hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
Ask about Humira, the #1 prescribed biologic by dermatologists. Clearer skin is possible.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show. Well, mad blaster. We are at the end of another show. We've got Eric Owens Sr. still on the phone with us. And I don't want to lose Reverend Thompson. As long as we've got him on the phone, we might as well bring Reverend Thompson back up. Hey, Reverend, are you there? Reverend, can you hear us? Reverend Thompson.
I think we lost Rev.
Oh, yep. He's gone.
He's gone.
Reverend Thompson disappeared. Oh, hang on. How do we dump him out now? There we go. No, I'm still getting the double beeps. There we go. It's off. Let's see if we can get Eric. Are you there? Oops, hang on. I still got him on speakerphone. Hold on. During the break, I put him on speakerphone, so that there. Now people can hear you. So go ahead and say we were talking about this whole thing. You were saying that there was a question. We went to break. There was a question with regards to the burial remains. So before we go,
yes, in the local area.
Wait. Just before we go there, I want to pause the audio here because I don't want to lose the end of the show in the middle of what we're talking about. I mean, we've gone this long. We might as well crack it out for a second longer and finish up what we're doing here. So hold on 1 second. I wanted to, before we went there, finish the story about that I was reading so that people have a better understanding of the complete part of what happened today. So can you hang on with me for a second, Eric?
Yeah, I'm here, bud.
Okay, so hold on. So let me finish reading this story. When protesters demonstrated near the construction site on Saturday morning, private security officers hired by the pipeline's owner, Energy Transfer Partners, confronted them with dogs and pepper spray. So this is not the government. This is private security guards, so basically contractors hired by the guys that are installing the pipeline. Unleashed dogs and pepper spray on these peaceful protesters. Now, I've got a question for you, Eric. Do you know if the place that they are the place that these people are on, is this private or is this public land where they're putting the pipeline through?
It's neither, Steve. It is neither. It is neither private or public land. That land that they are on is owned by the United States Army's Corps of Engineers.
Okay, so technically it is public property because if it's...
No, it is not.
Well, if it's owned by...
Wait,
Eric, just work with me here.
Yeah.
If because I'm asking you questions, I don't want to argue with you. I'm asking.
Okay.
I'm trying to pick it apart.
I'm just trying to give you the right answer.
Right. So if we've got a place out there that's owned by the, you said, am I correct that you said it's owned by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers? Is that correct?
That's correct.
So
that's correct.
By definition, then, this is publicly owned land. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is a division of the government, the federal government, and that means that land is owned by the feds.
Yeah, it's a military controlled area.
Okay, there you go. So go ahead. You were saying you were trying to tell me now. I just wanted to clear that up because that's an important point. These people are
yeah, they're not on the reservation like everyone thinks they are. They're north of the reservation of Standing Rock.
Well, I didn't even approach this with that assumption. I don't know where they're at, and this is why I'm asking you, where are they at? And you just told me that they're on federal property.
That's correct.
So now, you were saying, and before the break there, we were talking about how the point has arisen, the point has been made, the picture has been painted, that along the pipeline's construction, that there are ancient burial remains in the rubble next to the pipeline trench.
Yes.
Okay, so you're saying that's questionable. You're saying that there's question as to the authenticity of that claim.
I personally am not. In social media and local news in the Bismarck-Mandan area, they are.
Okay.
I believe that there is. It makes sense, but that is the problem that's going on in the local area right now.
So, is this a sense of controversy in your local community? Is this what this is about?
Absolutely, it is. It's what's in charge of our lives right now here.
So,
people want these out-of-staters to leave. There's been a horrible thing. I have great friends from that reservation that have helped me petitioning for the legalization of marijuana in North Dakota.
Right.
And I totally love the people of Standing Rock, and they are my friends, and I totally stand behind them. But the other people of the state are against them.
Eric, do you have any Indian heritage? Are you part of this group in any way?
No, I'm a filthy Irish bastard.
Well, I'm a filthy German bastard. So there you go. I'm really not. I was born in Germany as a U.S. citizen in an army hospital. My dad was part of the war effort in Vietnam, so I was stationed. He was stationed in Wurzburg, and there you go. Born in Germany, but American blooded.
We once discussed that on a TV show about my friend that died in the VA hospital a year ago in Ann Arbor, where your grandfather was at when we did a show on that. Which I really appreciate that you doing that, because that really helped give me closure to that whole situation.
Yeah,
that helped me through a bad time.
My grandfather passed away in an army hospital, and it was from a routine surgery. And it was a routine surgery that they had botched. And it's very frustrating when that kind of thing happens because, I spoke to my grandfather shortly before he went into his surgery, and he said he felt bad. He didn't feel good. Well, it's because he had a problem that needed some surgery. And so then when they went in and did the surgery, they punctured his bladder, and, he had some, septic issues and died. But, now that we know that this thing is on federal property, and there's this question about, whether or not they're actually digging up tribal remains, because that's a terrible story. I've not seen any pictures.
And Tim, if I could just take 1 minute to tell you how this whole thing happened, it'd only take 1 minute. And
sure,
I can tell you
go ahead.
how this whole thing happened.
Clear it up for us.
About a year or so, the pipeline was supposed to go north of Bismarck-Mandan area. Bismarck, North Dakota is the capital of North Dakota. The Bismarck-Mandan area is roughly about 110 to 115,000 people. Okay? It's a metro area in a very isolated area of America. So it's hundreds of miles of vastness all around this small, what you would consider in Michigan, a small town, 110,000 people. But here it's called the metro area. The people here said, we don't want to have a pipeline running north of our town, downriver, from a pipeline. It could go into our Missouri River. The Missouri River is what feeds our society here and gives us our water. And it could destroy our water treatment facility if there was an accident. So the people said, well, that makes good sense. Kick that pipeline south of town, 20 miles. And they said, well, let's put it on the Army Corps of Engineers. And they said, well, okay. But little they know that the Standing Rock area reservation, which is a small, it's a small reservation. There's only, I don't even think there's 1,000 people there.
Right.
And they expect them to go, hey, well, rich white people up north, up the river, can worry about the oil, but we have to worry about the oil? That's not fair. And that's why this whole problem happened.
Well, I mean, so so what you're basically telling me is this is a NIMBY problem? This is a not in my backyard issue?
Yes, sir.
Oh, my God.
Yes, sir. And they kicked it down the river. And figured that the people of the Standing Rock Reservation wouldn't be able to have a voice because they don't even freaking got cell phone service, Tim, as you know, calling Charmy.
I'm Steve.
How are they supposed to? People think it's blacked out. It's not blacked out.
Which guy?
They just have no service.
Which guy do you think you got on the radio here? Because you keep calling me Tim.
Oh, I said Tim. I said Steve. I'm sorry.
You look like a Tim.
I apologize.
No, that's okay. Which Tim did you think I was?
I have no clue why I said that. I'm just.
He's in the zone, man.
He's in the zone. Leave him alone. Let him. Leave him on his soapbox. Stop pushing him around, man.
What do you want from him?
What do you want from him?
I apologize.
No, that's okay. I think Matt's got a dirty pot there. You got.
Yeah, I think we've had a dirty pot the whole show. I hate dirty pots.
It's terrible.
Dirty pot.
All right. So can you hear Mad Blaster? Okay, Eric.
Yes, I can hear him.
Okay. All right. So now. So nobody's got any reports. I want to see pictures of burial remains next to a trench or next to some construction project. That's what I want to see. No, I'm just saying, if this claim is true, I want to see imagery that is reflective of the claim.
Well,
I want to see something to corroborate. I want to see something to corroborate this issue. There have been no issues where dogs have come back to the porch with some human remains. There's no reports like that in the local news, Eric.
Oh, yeah, there is. I got pictures on my Facebook of a black shepherd all covered his mouth in blood. He bit a horse and a couple people. You can look right on my
I'm not talking
Facebook
about,
see from a couple days ago, and that's plastered all over.
Shoot me now. No, I'm just bang. Okay. No, I'm just saying. I'm not talking about the dog attack. I'm talking about whether or not any pets have been coming up on the ranch with human remains from these, reported burial sites. That's what I'm talking about. Not the current modern day bloody attack. I'm talking about.
That.
I want to see.
I'm
serious. I'm serious.
Steve.
No. Listen. What I'm saying is, listen.
I know. I just kind of feel bad that you asked me that because those are ancient Indian lands.
No,
they're
you're right.
digging 4, 5, 6, 10 feet. Around they're finding things.
No, you're
right.
A
dog isn't going to dig 6 feet in the fucking ground and bring up a femur.
You're not picking up what I'm putting down, Eric. What I'm saying is this. If these claims that the pipeline has disturbed these ancient lands and that there's remains next to the trenches, I'm saying I want to see evidence of those remains. I've heard nothing. All I've heard is the story, but I've seen no evidence to back this claim. That's my point.
I'm thinking within 48 hours, they're going to be out there. People from the federal government, since they're having inspectors, they have to have inspectors come out there. Just like if you were digging in the backyard of your house, Steve, and you found all construction's done on your remodel of your house, building on an addition. If you find remains, it's no different here in North Dakota. That's a federal law. They'll be out there. The judge will be making a decision. I do believe he has until midnight of Friday, 11:59, to make a decision.
So
we will find the truth. And you are correct. That's what we need to know.
So what is the judge making a decision on? Because that I don't understand. He put a halt on this part right now. So is the decision, are they allowed to go through this tribal? This is not tribal land. This is land owned by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. I don't understand the decision before the judge.
Because there is a law, Steve, that is ancient Indian. It doesn't matter where it's at. It has to get a review, and we have to have a whole system.
So I'm sorry, you broke up there. You said can you hear me? You got to get closer to the Wi-Fi.
We have a system in the United States. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
In the United States of America,
yeah.
If you find any form of Indian burial remains anywhere, even on federal land, it takes a stop, and we have to have that documented. No matter what, even if it was on the Army's land or your land, Steve.
Right.
And they have to do that. So that's what they're saying, and they're going to want to have to produce that. Sharmi said she's camping out where the remains are.
Oh, wow.
Her camp's only 30 yards. So it's on her Facebook post from this morning. Steve. She put it on at about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock Eastern time, your time. We're on Central time.
I saw 2 posts from her. I saw one post this morning where she was waking up and she took a picture out of her tent and she posted some about that. And then there was another video that she posted about an hour later. I think you're referring to the video.
It's on your line. You'll see that.
So maybe we should just go back there and get Charmy's report. Let's do that. I'm going to go to Charmy's Facebook page and play that video so that people, because it's the only account that I've heard from anybody in any kind of completion.
And me too.
So Eric, I'm going to let you go then for now. I hope you can still listen to us online.
Yeah, and I got some things going on here, but please call me if you have any questions anytime.
Well, tell me what the things are. I don't want to leave you out. I don't want to leave you hanging. If you wanted to call and talk about your things, tell me real quick what they are.
Well, I just want to speak with, my petition drive I have here in North Dakota.
Please
the
do.
reason why I know all the activists here are the marijuana rights activists. So I'm intertwined with the marijuana rights activists of Michigan and North Dakota because I'm born and raised there. And that's how I'm kind of got involved in both these things. And so I'm looking out for everyone. I got everybody's back.
That's awesome. So how can
you believe in what I believe?
I do.
I'm helping you.
All right. So let me tell. Well, we're helping you too. So where are you at out there? How can people get involved with your program with trying to get marijuana legalized in North Dakota?
Well, there's nothing no one can do in Michigan, but just give us a hooray and a shout out every once in a while. We're at the end of our petition drive. We need about 3,000 more signatures, and we're going to have a full repeal of prohibition of marijuana in North Dakota.
We do have
on the ballot.
We do have people like yourself that listen in North Dakota. So what are you going to say to them? What can they do to help at this point in time?
Well, if they live in North Dakota and they don't know Eric Fitzgerald Owen Sr., and they need to go on our page, Legalize North Dakota, and then they'll see me on there, and they'll have ways to contact me, and then let's network. Because if I missed a few of you, we need to talk.
For sure. See, and
you're right.
This is the thing, too. You're out in an area where it's difficult. Communication is obviously difficult, even via, cell phone or via, Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we are very remote. We only have 770,000 people in our whole state.
Man, that's like the population of Detroit in a whole state.
That is correct, sir.
Wow. I never thought about it in those terms.
I had a culture shock coming here.
I'll bet you did, because your nearest neighbor is making cow pies.
Yeah.
You probably see more animals in a day than you do people. I would think.
Well, I live in a metro area. It's about the size of Flint and nice, not like Flint where it's all horrible. But it's 110,000 people here. But I'm isolated. Once I leave, it's like going into the ocean of green, the prairie.
So are you anywhere
in
near
the Badlands?
Are you anywhere near, Eric, the military installation up there? Doesn't North Dakota have
we have nuclear missiles here. Yeah, there's a military base 2 miles from our house.
I'm thinking of Minot. North Dakota. You're way south of there, aren't you?
Yeah, yes, sir. Minot is an hour and a half drive north.
Right. They're right on the.
That'd be about.
They're right near the Canadian border.
Sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I used to know a guy named Uncle Jack that worked at the radio station in Lansing, Michigan. He came from Minot, North Dakota. I thought that was an odd place to get a morning show guy from, but he was pretty funny. That guy was pretty awesome. And then he worked there at the radio station, worked out his contract for a year, and he said, "Sayonara, Lansing. I'm going back to Minot." So
that sounds like a Minot guy.
Yeah, he retired back in Minot, but he went as Uncle Jack. That's how he went on the radio. Anyway, well, Eric, it's been nice talking to you. I'm gonna retire back to this, and I'm gonna play this Charmy thing because I think it's important, and I think it's the only way we can close out this topic, being that this is a cannabis-related radio show. But like I said, this subject is so akin to our community. It's the same fight. It's just a different subject. So why not be supportive of them when we can ask for their support on our side? And I think that's a great way to network. Eric, thank you for the call. I really appreciate it. I'm glad we were able to get
God bless you, Steve. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And like I said, anytime you need our help, please reach out. We're here.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Sure. All right, bye-bye. So there we go. Eric Owen Sr. out there fighting the fight in North Dakota. A Michigander, of all things.
Right.
Let me see. So I'm going to rate this thing for Facebook. How many stars should I give the Facebook call? The call quality on the Facebook call.
I mean, for being where he's at, I'd say that was a 5-star event. I don't know what you want. That was a.
I don't know what you want. There's this answer. I don't know. My plate's empty, Steve. It's an empty plate.
I've been getting high for quite some time. Clearly, I haven't been talking, so I've just been chief in joints. And
boy, you're right about the audio being really quiet. I don't get why it's so quiet.
Oh, I've gotten over it. I texted people and asked them what the audio was like. Apparently, we're fine.
Yeah, well, because we got compression. Wait, I got a dirty pot again.
Dirty pot. I hate it. I hate the dirty pot.
Me too.
Kill the dirty pot.
The dirty pot's really irritating.
Stab it in the neck.
I just want to kill it. Okay, so are we okay now? I can be heard? Yay. Okay, that works. All right, so I gave it a 4. We'll submit the 4.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah. So I have to quickly look up the Charmy thing. I know we're way over on time. I apologize, Mad Blaster.
Over.
Are you starting to show the pain in your face? Are you getting some pain?
No, I'm too high for that, to be honest.
Really? Are you all right with the... You don't need to call an ambulance or nothing?
I might have to go find me like a Slim Jim soon, but that's about it.
Going to pour you out on the porch and onto your skateboard?
Yeah, pretty much. And then I'm just going to coast on away.
How could you? Are you going to pour effective? We have to get like a bowl to put like a you know where those.
I'm imagining myself in a Kool-Aid pitcher right now.
Well, I could see if we got one of those snow discs. You know what I mean? Those round things,
yeah.
And then put that somehow on the snowboard and just poured you onto that or onto the skateboard. We could just pour you onto that.
What if you poured me out of a container and I just went into standing and it was just.
Well, actually, from here to where you got to go, you could just like pour you in the street. You could just drain down the street.
Yeah, I'd get most of the way to where I'm going.
Right. So let me find Charmy here. See, I want to call her on the Facebook, but I know she can't. There's no contact. So what I got to do is I've got to open her profile, and then go down to the place where she did that video, because it's really. She posted this morning at 8:08, which would be Central Time. Yeah.
And
okay, hang on. So that's hang on. I got to rewind it there. So I'm going to play this for you. This is 1 minute and 24 seconds long. This is Charmy Golson this morning out on the prairie. Now, let me, before I play that, there's another one.
Good morning.
Okay, wait a minute. Here we go. Hang on. This is the one I was telling you about before. I thought it was a picture, but it's not. It's a video. So I'm going to go ahead and play it. It's really dark. You can barely see her face. You can see the dawn butt cracking behind her head. I mean, the sun is just barely rising, so you can see some visual light on the horizon through the tent that she's obviously filming this in. So she's inside of a tent in one of these encampments. My friend Charmy Golson this morning. This was posted 12 hours ago. So this would have been about 8:30 Eastern time.
Good morning. We're just waking up here. And the construction was halted yesterday by a restraining order issued by the Obama administration. Not because the private contractors for the oil companies unleashed dogs on the peaceful protectors, but because of the presence of these ancestral remains that are right behind me here, that were plowed up by the oil companies as far as the eye can see, according to some of the scouts that have been going out throughout the day and night. So there were no contractors here yesterday. There was no construction here yesterday.
So that's what I'm talking about. That's what I mean about the reports. I mean, this is my friend. She's not going to go out there and lie about this. Now, I don't know what so there's some confusion about this media blackout thing, right? I was told by somebody that the tribe, whoever's in charge of this tribe, whoever's in charge of this reservation, politically, has put a media blackout there because, again, if indeed the claim is true here that these guys are on federal property, they could be eventually ruled as out of place and all arrested and hauled off. I mean, effectively, this is no different than having a protest at the Washington Monument after hours.
Right.
It's still federal property. I mean, maybe there's some park rules also involved in the monument example, but it's much akin. It's the same thing. You could be ruled as trespassing. Look, you guys are all. This is not an approved assembly. This is not a lawful assembly because you didn't get a permit for it, and you don't have right to be in this particular place. So we're going to ask you to leave. Y'all got to go. And if you don't go, we're going to have to arrest you for trespass. And we've got a whole bunch of guys over there to do the arresting, and we don't want to do it. So we're going to ask you to just please leave. If you leave now, nobody gets arrested, but you got to go. You can't stay here. That's what they would have to do. But so far, this hasn't gone on. The only people that are causing pressure here are not the police. It's not the government. This is private contractors assaulting people in peaceful protest. And for obvious good reason, if my ancestors' remains are being torn up by your bulldozers in the effort to put in your stupid pipeline that we don't want anyways because you've been shifting it around to the NIMBY thing. It's not in my backyard. Now you're going to put it in our backyard. So I guess we'd have to swallow them bones, no pun intended, if it weren't for the fact that you're digging up our ancestors in that effort. So I could see why the Obama administration would put with that claim in place. Obviously, there's been some evidence put in place. You're not just going to get a federal injunction without significant evidence. It doesn't happen. The judge doesn't just issue an injunction. It's got to have significant evidence, like a likelihood that this is the situation. It's got to be more likely than not that it is the situation. So there's got to be some corroborative evidence to the claim.
Right.
It can't be just an empty, hollow claim. It can't be just like, like the empty rape claim, like the vicious, vindictive girlfriend claim. I'm just going to say you raped me then.
Oh, that's...
Well, I mean, just saying. That's a false claim.
I see the correlation you're making there, yeah.
It's the same thing. I mean, you can't make that case in a court because an injunction requires significant corroborative evidence just to get the injunction. Right. Otherwise, they would just dismiss it as frivolous. There's nothing to evidence. There's nothing meritorious about your claim. Show us something that gives your claim merit, and then we'll consider your injunction. But given that an injunction was issued, meaning construction must halt in this location until the government can establish further details about the truth and validity of the claim on the injunction, which is you're digging up our ancestral remains, which are not only protected from every American citizen's standpoint, like, if they were digging up the graveyard to install some water slide somewhere,
right,
and your parents were getting dug up in the process and tossed along the side of the trench, I mean, how disrespectful is this? Right, this is just not acceptable in modern civilized society, period. But then the fact that you would do this to a sacred ancestral place where, let's face it, these people were being buried in land that nobody else wanted. That's the only reason they gave it to them in the first place. This is the least desirable land. You can go there.
Right.
If we got to give you something to go live on because we stole your country from you, you can just go live there. That's what this essentially was. So now that they're there, and they've been burying their ancestors there for eons, here comes Mr. Capitalist and his pipeline to make things cheaper for himself, likely, nobody else. Open up distribution lines for our product. Comes along and starts in a poltergeist-like fashion, installing the pipeline despite the fact that they know there are ancient burial grounds in the way. Right. And they've been having this NIMBY argument for over a year about where the pipeline's going to go, 30 feet or 30 miles that way, 30 miles this way. Is it the rich people or the poor people that have to put up with the pipeline and its possible degradation of the environment? But that's not even the point at play here. The point at play is this. You're digging up graves.
Yeah, no, that's fucked up.
This is just not allowable.
No.
And so here's Sharmi with the rest of that report. I just wanted to make that clear because she says that these remains are right behind her. And I don't understand the media blackout thing. I think there's some confusion about that because she told me, or maybe I don't quote me on that. Somebody near the time where I was talking to Sharmi, and I thought it was Sharmi, but it might not have been, said that I think it may have been somebody responding to the post that Sharmi made when this question was posed in the comments below the video. That, look, where, because I said, look, can I get a hold of somebody? And they said, look, there's a media blackout. And I said, well, why is the media blackout happening? That's what happened. What do you mean a media blackout? I've never heard of such a thing. Well, is it a media blackout because nobody can post any pictures or video? Because you heard what the reception's like 30 miles from there. It's like shit.
Yeah. Terrible.
But it didn't seem to have a problem. Like, that doesn't prevent a guy with a generator and a satellite dish from reporting on this. Why aren't they out there? I've seen nothing on CNN about this. I'm pretty closely glued to the national news. I watch it routinely. I have all the alerts and messaging coming to my instant gadget device that I have strapped to my hip, my iPhone and my Android. The Samsung Galaxy S7 is pretty sweet. But the point is that I've heard nothing about this from the national media.
Right.
So, again, if the national media is not there, there's only two reasons could be behind it. Either they don't know about it, or they know about it, but they don't want to send resources to cover it because nobody cares. They don't think it's worth it, has any news value to their organization. In other words, this is not going to grab enough eyes for us to go cover. It's not going to pay for itself.
I don't see how that'd be a true statement.
Well, they'd send them everywhere else. I mean, they chase after a hurricane, but see, people want to watch the hurricane. You see, they'll put them up in all kinds of strange, precarious positions and spend a lot of money getting you out to a place where nobody else can get to.
I'd really like to think that there are people that would like to see big oil kind of get screwed over when they're trying to just come through and run through.
It's been horrible here. These people at was it the Enbridge Corporation? Is it Enbridge? I think it's Enbridge. They're the guys that are in charge of a lot of oil pipelines around the state.
Right.
Oil and gas pipelines. In fact, Enbridge has a gas pipeline that runs right through my parents' driveway. The pipeline goes back there, and there's this huge, there's some kind of metering facility. There's a whole giant facility that they bought the rent time from. I don't think they got some kind of agreement on the property back there for this big piece of, I don't know. It's a huge building. It used to be smaller and automated, but now there's people there all the time, and it's a much bigger building. And they put a parking lot in, and they paved the roads, and yeah, it's crazy. And this is out in a small farming community. But these guys, they did some reconstruction of the pipeline through there, like they rebuilt some pipeline. But this same company is the same company responsible for spilling all kinds of oil, like light, sweet crude oil, into, I think it was the Kalamazoo River.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Out there, I mean, that whole out there on the West Coast, there were a few debacles like this where they spilled hundreds of thousands of gallons, where a pipeline broke somewhere, and all this stuff is just going right into the river, killing all the wildlife. And, you know what these things are like when these pipelines break and they get into a river or a waterway or an estuary. I mean, it's terrible.
Right.
You saw what happened with the, well, you were around for the Alaska Valdez, the Exxon Valdez in Alaska. That was the biggest oil disaster to date until the Enron thing happened.
Right.
Not Enron. What was it? BP. Enron was a whole other debacle. Oh, don't get me going on the Enron thing. But that's what we're setting ourselves up for here. It's this kind of collapse, that Enron type collapse. Enron was just a big, building that was, a lot of shystering going on with their value. They were taking energy resources from multiple states and bundling them together and then reselling them back at a higher price. They were leveraging different commodities for much higher value.
Right.
And they were really screwing the public in the process. But the whole thing collapsed because they were just basically lying all the time about what they were worth. So the whole thing went down. Somebody's got that big giant E that stood out in front of the building. They bought it at the bankruptcy sale for $25 or something. It's out there in front of their garage, where the Circle Drive is. They get the big E out there because their last name is Erickson or something. Back to Charmy. Hold on.
Holding.
Oh, what?
That's weird.
That's not Charmy. Hang on. You got to push the thing.
My bad.
Hang on. Where'd Charmy go?
Painted a bulldozer.
Hang on. Hold on. I got to back her up a little bit. We lost
throughout the day and night. So there were no contractors here yesterday. There was no construction here yesterday. There were a great deal of helicopters buzzing us. There was a great show of police when Jill Stein was here. Now they're saying they're going to arrest her because she, spray painted a bulldozer. It's been very peaceful here. There've been nothing but prayers and protection for our ancestors that have been.
Okay, so it's really hard to control the Facebook video. For some reason, it's really hard to it doesn't want to stop or pause easily. Anyway, she just answered the question that I had earlier about Jill Stein. Do you know who Jill Stein is?
Yes.
Who's Jill Stein?
Isn't that a presidential candidate?
It is.
Yeah.
She's the presidential candidate for the Green Party. And incidentally, I'm hoping and endorsing Maria Green for the 8th Congressional District. She's running for Congress as in the 8th Congressional District on the Green Party. If you're in the Oakland County 8th Congressional District area, because it's not just Oakland, it's Genesee, it's part of northern Oakland. It's a weird congressional district, but she is running in place of the lady. You heard weren't you here when we had Maria Green on the show? No, I think we were talking about. Remember, we were talking about Little House on the Prairie. Remember that discussion?
Okay, yes, that
rings a bell.
Familiar, yeah.
And then, do you remember who the people were on Little House on the Prairie? Who were the two girls on the Little House on the Prairie? Do you remember that?
My plate's empty, Steve.
I'm teeing you up, and you got no bat. Is what you're saying?
I've been smoking joints for a while.
Oh God,
We got an interview day.
That's terrible. If you're so stoned you can't participate on the show, we're gonna have to halt you back. We're gonna have to nibble back on
I
the.
wouldn't say that, but don't expect me to regurgitate a show from.
We're putting the reins on.
Okay,
yeah, we're putting the reins on you now. He's too stoned. I'm too stoned. The answer is I'm just too stoned, Steve.
The answer is yes, Steve. I'm too stoned to give a fuck about Little House on the Prairie.
There are no fucks left to give, Steve. I'm
0.
just so high.
That's the situation. What do you want from me?
Hey, Steve, you know what this is? My skull. That was my shoe, by the way. That was my Sean Penn in Fast Times at the Ridgemont High.
Yeah, I just watched this man hit himself with the. Yeah, I know. I bet that hurt.
No, it didn't. Actually, didn't. Very Sean Pennish, I guess. That was my Sean Penn impression. Anyway, so stupid thing. The video. Jill Stein. By the way, vote Maria Green locally. Jill Stein was rumored that she was arrested. And see, that's what I'm saying. Why isn't CNN out there covering this? Why isn't Fox News out there? Where's CBS, NBC, ABC? Why are they not out there? And what's this questionable media blackout thing? Is it because the reception's so bad? I don't think so. I've seen, media set up in a cow's field in the middle of nowhere, which is exactly where this is at. They can put up this stuff anywhere on the globe. I mean, I could go out there and broadcast. Well, I'd have to stand really high on a ladder. But I could go out.
Task.
Yeah, I probably, you could probably pee further than people could hear me. But I could go out there and broadcast. I'm just saying this isn't rocket science. Look, if I had a satellite dish and bought some time up on one of them reflectors up there, it's not that hard to do.
You'd be golden. That's what you're saying.
Golden. 3, 2, 1, and point.
We would be letting people know what's going on directly.
Here we are, standing next to a cow patty in the middle of a field. There's no power. There's no cellular connection. I can't call my boss. I have no idea.
I can't call my boss.
Yeah, nobody knows where I'm at. But we're out here in the middle of a field, and
we are live.
We are live broadcasting to probably about 100,000 people right now, wondering what the hell is happening in North Dakota. Let me just tell you. Can you see behind me over there? There's some ancient burial remains. And the problem is that those ancient burial remains are unearthed because that bulldozer over there dug them up in the process of installing the pipeline, Exhibit A, over there. And so they're pushing through this area. They've been arguing about, whether the poor people have to have it in their yard or the rich people have to have it in their yard. And it turns out they're going through the poor people's yard. And the poor people's yard happens to be property owned by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, specifically for the construction of this project. Mind you, this is not a federal project.
Right.
This is not a tax-funded project. This is a private project. This is some company wanting to run a pipeline and getting the government to sign off along the way. Now, I don't know, what hand job happened where. But that's what happens when they get these deals done.
What the hell? You just spit on me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That was like across the room, man.
I get vicious.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I just got like scattershot. It was
I'm sorry.
Terrible.
Did you get a second shower now? I got veins in my teeth sometimes.
That was rough, man.
Sorry about that.
Spewing
Should
venom.
I give you
spewing venom in your words? I'm going to need a face guard.
Can I give you an umbrella?
Something.
So all I'm saying with this is that here's Sharmi out there pointing out that these remains are here. Now, I don't know why she's reluctant to just take her camera over there. Like, she uploaded this video from inside the tent. Why is she in the tent doing this reporting? It would seem that you could go outside the tent where there seems to be more light and do the report from out there. So I think for some reason this indicates to me, just looking at this from, the perspective that I have, that it seems that she may be reluctant to do this in an open public way, either out of respect for the people that are near her. She's also, you've got to take into account the position that she is a guest out there amongst those people in an effort to help them just as much as anything else. So really, she doesn't want to upset her hosts, who it may seem, according to reports, have dictated not to film this because we are violating some kind of trespass law, and this is evidence of it. I'm very confused about the news blackout situation. Something tells me that either the national guys don't. Why would the national guys not care about this story?
I mean, at this point, as far as it goes for the lack of cameras being used outside of the tent, I mean, at this point, if there's remains being dug up, I mean,
well, she said
it might be a respect thing.
I'll play it again. I'll just play it again real quick. Where's she at? Come here we go.
Behind me here.
Oh, right there.
Peaceful protectors, but because of the presence of these ancestral remains that are right behind me here, that were plowed up by the oil companies as far as the eye can see, according to some of the scouts that have been going out.
That it is right there. It says it all right there. I'll let it play. It's only got a minute and 47 left. I'll let it play.
Throughout the day and night. So there were no contractors here yesterday. There was no construction here yesterday. There were a great deal of helicopters buzzing us. There was a great show of police when Jill Stein was here. Now they're saying they're going to arrest her because she, spray painted a bulldozer. It's been very peaceful here. There have been nothing but prayers and protection for our ancestors that have been disrupted by the construction here, as well as the water that we're all protecting from the black snake. Well, I'm going to try to give updates, especially if the contractors show back up. We don't anticipate seeing any of them because there was an executive order, I believe, or restraining order issued yesterday by the Obama administration. I haven't read it. But we're all safe here. We're learning a lot. We're at a small encampment of about 25 to 35 people directly at one of the sites that's been bulldozed. And there's a larger spiritual encampment and an even larger gathering just down the road about a mile. It's really amazing to see 1,000 people from all different nations camped along the river here. And we're strong, we're very safe, and I want to thank everyone that donated supplies for the warriors out here and donated cash for us to be able to get out here.
Wow. She's almost in tears. I mean, literally, you can see her nearly in tears when she. Hang on. Hold on. That was a different video she had made of driving out there, so there was a lot of car noise. I think she was just showing the area.
Right.
But you can see. Look in the video. I'm going to play it for you, but look in the video. I'm just playing this for Mad Blaster. Look at the encampments.
Wow. Here's the first encampment. We're joining Mike Diesel about a mile down the road.
See, so I gotta just let that, because it's gonna keep playing stuff if I don't. Next video, no, I don't want to. No, I don't want it doing that. So now I'm going to play. This is the update she did at 8 o'clock this morning, about 9 o'clock, a little after 9 o'clock Eastern time this morning. And this is
So
outside the tent.
We just had a prayer circle over at the camp and learned that the lawyer came last night and told us that we didn't actually win this case like we thought, but that now the Dakota Access Pipeline people can actually come as far as our encampment. They can't go any further east behind me, but they can come as far as our encampment. They can continue to tear up these ancient sites, the burial grounds. And so we've been sent out to get all the pipe carriers and bring them here for a prayer ceremony Friday before the hearing in D.C. That's our update for now. There's also somebody came by and told us that they've seen 15 to 20 trucks headed out to different sites this morning, and the people are mobilizing right now. They're sending. There were a couple of women that came from the larger camp that were all in camouflage that went out into this construction area here that's been torn up this morning, and it's my understanding we still have warriors actually chained to the equipment out there, and we're getting to pray and making breakfast in the morning.
All right, there you go. So I could take that off now because the videos are going to keep playing, but that's what we've got from Sharmi so far. I didn't even get a chance to listen to all of them earlier today, so you heard them with me the first time here on the show. What do you have to say about what you just heard and witnessed?
I mean, other than just the complete shock and awe factor, I mean, I think it might just be the cannabis talking, but for some reason I'm just imagining being the poor bastard that's only getting paid some, $20 an hour to go run this bulldozer, and it's just boss's orders.
Wait a
it's
minute.
boss's orders, and you're coming to work, and there's some hippies chained to your bulldozer. It's like, man,
dude,
I don't get paid enough.
You're right. It is the cannabis talking. Good Lord.
Whatever.
Good God.
Whatever.
So
I feel for that guy.
So wait a minute. Just let me get this straight. So you've got a situation where a bunch of poor Indians on a reservation.
Oh, no, that's terrible. Yeah.
Who have ancestral tribe lands being torn up by bulldozers, and the guy that you want to side with is the guy on the bulldozer that's like, man, there's some hippies chained to my painted up bulldozer?
It's not even really that. It's the fact that, whoever organized this doesn't actually have to come out here and deal with it and see the remains that they're digging up. And no, it's just some dude who's trying to feed his family, man. And he's the one that's being painted as the bad guy.
I look at it this way. So, I mean, yeah, well, he kind of is the bad guy. I mean, so would you be out there on that bulldozer?
How much am I getting paid?
I mean, I don't know. I assume you're getting union wages, I'm guessing. I don't know.
I mean, I guess that's a negotiation to have.
So I would imagine that if you're out there on the bulldozer, whether or not you're allowed to bulldoze by some federal injunction, that you're on the clock, so you're getting paid. Whether
if I'm on the clock, or it's a situation like that where I'm simply following orders. I mean,
so maybe today you got to go out there with a can of yellow spray paint and repaint the part where they painted on there, you bastards, go home or whatever.
Right.
And so you got to paint. You got to do painting today instead of bulldozing.
And it's not like this is your choice. You might not even be doing the thing you find morally correct.
Maybe you could be nice and just take a big bucket of water and go splash some water on the hippies that are tied to your bulldozer, and maybe give them a bath.
I mean, I'm not gonna be mad. I'm gonna be like, hey guys, look, I got the keys.
I know it's really hot out here. I brought you this pool of water.
I'm just trying to get in the bulldozer, man.
Take the ice bucket challenge.
I'm off at 8 o'clock. Can you just come back then? I take lunch around noon.
There's really nothing funny about any of this.
Yeah, I can't. There's nothing funny about it. And I feel like it's,
I can't believe that you would side with the guy on the bulldozer over.
No, I mean, I'm obviously siding with the natives.
But the first thing that you're worried about, you're like,
maybe
it's just the cannabis talking. But I'm, that poor guy on the bulldozer, he's only making, like $15-20 an hour. I mean, I don't think any of these protesters are making a penny, and Grandpa's laying on the ground over there.
And that's true. And the first thing I noted was the shock and awe factor that the entire situation itself was indeed, yes, fucked up. But I mean, are you going to tell me you don't feel for the dudes that's having to wrestle with the decision of paying bills? And
I just, that's the last guy I'm thinking about there.
I'm sorry,
just being honest. I mean, that guy's around too, but like I said, that guy's getting,
We're all people,
number one,
man.
he's getting paid. Number two, he probably belongs to a union.
And that's the only reason he's here doing this shit. And it probably, he might have a completely traumatized experience because, you've got rich people who are private companies trying to lay
Didn't
oil
seem like
lines
anybody
that
was
can't-
bothered by the fact that they were pushing up, old remains. Hey, there goes another casket. There's another one. They just keep on going for miles?
Hey,
really?
man, if you've never done a job that you hated to get done what you needed to get done.
So I don't care who I am or what I'm doing. If whatever it does, whatever it is, whatever happens from my actions happens to unearth human remains, actions cease immediately. I think according to law.
I mean,
at minimum,
that's you.
At
That's
minimum,
you.
at minimum, it's an archaeological site. I mean, what if what you're digging up is from 400,000 years ago, and you've got the missing human link?
Hey, man, you don't like the opinion? No, that's just mine.
It just
where my thoughts are.
I just got images of that Poltergeist movie.
Oh yeah, no, that's bad juju, man. People are going to stir up
the
some bad
trees are
shit.
reaching through the windows to get you because
it's in no way good.
They're
Not
back.
saying that.
I'm here. We're going to get you through the snowy TV or your internet connection. We snuck in through a Trojan horse in a virus in your app.
The Full Melt Show is a production of TFM Media.